Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Zach Leewald.
Yeah, Ben Stanhope. That was awkward. Welcome to the Movie Vault. We've been off for the last 2 weeks because Zach has been busy with. No, I'm just kidding. We've both been busy. It's kind of that time of the semester where we
It's
have
finals.
it's finals, yeah. And but we had time this week, and we have a special guest on the podcast, Jonathan Young. Jonathan, say hi.
Hey, it me. I don't really have anything else to say
And
beyond
John,
that. I feel like you're expecting a lot from me, honestly. Just
yeah, and Jonathan is actually not in this room, but we're trying to layer his audio underneath ours so the audio quality will sound similar. Hopefully that works. Because if it doesn't, then this will be a hard listen for everyone. But we're still going to make you listen to it regardless.
well, yeah. Well, it depends on how dedicated of a fan you are.
Oh, we have so many dedicated fans,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
fans?
Yeah.
And they follow us on our Instagram at Movie Vault at the Movie Vault Pod, and our Twitter at Movie Vault Pod, and they email us constantly at the Movie Vault Pod at gmail.com.
Oh, did they
So there, we got our socials
did
out
they
of the
email
way.
because you keep on getting your reviews wrong, or like why do they keep on emailing you?
Yeah, basically they just disagree.
No,
with
they,
us.
they disagree with us, but remember, in the end, like, who's right? Who's the movie experts?
Who's behind the mic and who's listening to us?
Yes.
You know, that's what we always say.
Yes.
But we're reviewing today one of Jonathan's favorite movies, correct?
It's I don't know about favorite, but it's definitely up there. I do quite like it. It's in a particular genre
Okay,
that not many good movies appear in my opinion.
So would you say it comfortably within your top 50 movies?
Probably in there, yeah.
Okay. The movie is Casino Royale, the first movie that Daniel Craig starred as James Bond, and it was directed by who is it, Martin somebody or another? Now
Scorsese?
I don't have the Wikipedia page pulled up.
Yes. Good old Martin Scorsese.
I wanted to say Martin Freeman, but I don't think that's right either.
It's not Martin Freeman.
It's Martin Campbell. And it was released in the year of 2006, and it grossed $616.5 million to a $150 million budget, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 94%. So this might be one of the highest grossing movies we've ever reviewed on the podcast.
It is very much a success, especially with the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because Rotten Tomatoes scores determine success.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If a movie is not like an 89 or higher, I don't watch it. Just straight up.
I agree.
Okay, here's what I say. I say Rotten Tomatoes scores don't determine what movies are good, but they do determine what movies are bad. So if it has a really low Rotten Tomato score, it's probably a bad movie. But like if it's high, like above 80 or like above 90, even like all the different things, it's probably like it could be a bad movie, it could be good, but you can't really know.
Yeah,
all sarcasm aside, that's like a very good like judgment, I'd say.
Yeah, although I will say that some of them that are in the 50 to 60 range are more mixed, so you could really like it or you might not like it. They're just more divisive movies generally.
Yeah, so I'm saying it only tells you if it's bad if it's like a 30 or 40. Like,
Yeah.
we went and saw Chaos Walking and it got like a 30 or something.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was not good.
Well,
I'm not defending
The
that movie.
problem with scores sometimes is that sometimes it's purely just a matter of subjectivity, where it's just some people really hate something, but a particular niche just like it's the greatest thing in the world.
Like Star Wars Episode 8.
Yeah, there's a niche of there's
Ben
a niche of people who do really like that movie. It's a small niche, but it does
Like Ben.
exist. Like Ben.
I'm in that niche. It was and all the critics on Rotten Tomatoes
Yeah,
were also in that
Yeah.
niche because it got like an 85
yeah,
critic rating.
yeah.
Which I guess was what makes me a critic. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying.
Ben's just better than us because he agrees with Rotten Tomatoes critics.
Zach, what would you say about this movie? What's your phrase?
I don't know. Pow pow.
Pow.
There was a lot of action in this movie, okay? Like, every time something happened, like, there was a little bit of dialogue and then someone would get shot in the head, so...
Zach's
I
amazing
don't know what you're
phrase
talking
is
about.
pow,
Most
pow.
of the shots were kind of in the shoulder or chest area. There's only one notable one in the head.
You're right, yeah.
That's true. That was a very notable
Yeah,
one.
very
though.
notable.
All right, so now we have our section that's called Botch, Watch, or Top Notch, which is basically there's three options. You can either botch the movie, which means it's horrible, or you could recommend a watch for everyone. And Top Notch would be like the highest tier of movie. Like, no person should go without seeing the movie. An example of that would be Elmo's Adventures in Grouchland or something like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Or the one where Elmo tries to get the blanket back.
Or yeah, that's the one.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one. They go to the Grouch Factory thing.
I have no
Okay,
idea
of
what
course,
you
that's
guys are
it is.
talking about.
Haha, we're into Elmo and you're not.
Yeah, actually, we're the biggest experts on Elmo out there. You know, we know everything.
You know the lore.
We've
the
watched.
lore.
We know the lore. It actually gets a lot darker than people expect. Behind all the happy faces, there's a dark.
There's the puppeteers.
Yeah.
No. It's Disney, ain't it?
I. Disney bought it, and they're doing something completely different.
Subliminal.
Anyway, I would give this movie a watch because I think it's definitely it's a James Bond movie. You got to watch it, especially if you like James Bond. But it's probably not really the top tier of film in general, I would say.
That's fair.
So,
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd say watch. Of course, like I don't think anyone was expecting me to say top notch, but I wouldn't say botch because it's like a movie that you hear the word James Bond a lot. You know, you hear that name. It's not, and you kind of just you gotta watch it to at least know what people are talking about. So you gotta watch it.
And I feel like this movie would have been a great movie to watch in the theater. It just has that sort of like cinematic feel to it. Whereas if you're just watching it on a normal flat screen, you're probably not going to get as much of that out of it. But
You gotta watch it in the cinemas in 3D. Actually, I don't know if there was a 3D release of this movie ever.
maybe not 3D actually. For
Gives
this
me a
movie.
headache.
As for
about
me, probably watch just because, I mean, I feel like there are certain types of movies where everyone has to see at least one of them, you know. I feel like everyone should watch a James Bond. Everyone should watch an Indiana Jones, you know.
So you're saying that this would be the James Bond that everyone should watch?
There's another James Bond that I prefer, but the thing is that Casino Royale is I think, a better movie to get yourself introduced to the character.
Okay. And which James Bond would you say is your favorite?
I prefer Skyfall. It's 2 movies after this
Skyfall.
one, and I think a lot of the issues that you guys have with this movie, I think, are alleviated in that one. It's just this one's just a better opener. So
Yeah, I get that. So now we're gonna go briefly through the plot of the movie, which I'm gonna ask you
Briefly.
to explain, and you can go as briefly as possible. Like, obviously, this movie is kind of complicated, so.
well, is
ABAP.
this where we want to have the spoiler warning? Well, we probably should have put it earlier,
Oh,
realistically speaking.
Honestly, if you came into our podcast and you were like, "Oh yeah, this movie's not gonna get spoiled," well then you're wrong because we're spoiling everything. So,
Yeah, spoiler alert.
And if you've listened to our podcast for long enough, you would know that because we never have spoiler warnings, even though we should.
The girl dies.
Yeah.
Girl dies, Lashif dies, James Bond dies, everyone dies.
James Bond goes into cardiac arrest at one point. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. He dies halfway through the movie. I didn't see that coming. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Anywho.
Made me sad.
Anyway, as for the actual summary, oh boy, let's keep it brief. James Bond gains 00 status, at which point he tracks down this one dude who I'm gonna be real with you. I can't remember the significance of this one person, but his employer has significance in that his employer has dealings with the movie's main villain, Lashif. So James Bond tracks down this one dude, kills him when he wasn't supposed to. MI6 gets in a whole bunch of heat for it, and James Bond is supposed to not be working, but I guess he's a workaholic because he kind of does anyway, and tracks down another person who is related to Lashif, kills this person, stops an attempt at blowing up a plane, which we later find out was an attempt by Lashif to actually get a bunch of money by shorting stocks on that particular company. You know, plane blows up, stocks go down, the short is successful, money is gained. I don't really know all the ins and outs of the stock market, but I think that's close enough. At which point, MI6 is like, okay, we have to take this guy head on. He's going to try and earn back a bunch of the money that he's lost, which is like $100 million, by doing a very high stakes poker game. He's hoping to earn back a lot of what he's lost, so the people who he works with don't get upset enough at him to actually kill him. Obviously, MI6, being a bunch of just, do-gooders, doesn't really have anyone who gambles aside from James Bond, because he is quite the gambler. So he goes in, gambles his way, nearly dies. Lashif nearly dies. everyone nearly dies. It's a whole thing. Anywho, by the end of it, Mr. Bond wins the game. And fast forwarding a little bit, Bond is captured by Le Chiffre, who tries to interrogate information out of Bond to get the money back that Bond won. Le Chiffre dies through means that are known, but we don't know who did it necessarily. Fast forward a little bit, Vesper, who I've not brought up to this point because there's too much to cover as is. Vesper and Bond have a bit of a relationship that takes up about the last half hour of the movie. Turns out Vesper actually betrays Bond by sending the money that he won to elsewhere, unbeknownst to him. And, oh goodness. Okay, here we go. Almost there.
It is a lot.
There's so much. Spy movies have too much stuff in them, honestly. Alright, so, once all that is said and done, once Bond finds out, he is obviously very upset. So he goes to track down Vesper, only to see that Vesper has been kidnapped isn't quite the right word. Blackmailed, I guess. Closer.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, blackmailed. She's locked into an elevator. Action scene takes place. Building sinks into a river, and Vesper drowns, and Bond. That's pretty much Bond's origin story. From that point onward, he becomes the cold-blooded person, spy that everyone kind of more knows. And I think that's everything.
Yeah, he shoots some guy in the leg at the end, but I didn't exactly...
That's a tie-in for the next movie, which everyone considers to be the worst one.
Okay.
What is it?
Quantum of Solace. Solace? Okay. I can't remember.
And he ends the movie by saying, "The name's Bond. James Bond."
Which, of course, is iconic.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, it's... The problem with that line is that it's in every single movie, so it can't really be used to, go, oh, yeah, that movie. It's like, which one? There's 23 of them. How many Bond movies are there, actually? I haven't looked up.
It's quite a few. And it's kind of hard to... I looked it up at one point, and it's kind of hard to keep track of, who...
yeah.
Who is, the actor in all of them. I know Sean Connery was, the first guy, right? Is that...
Yeah, Sean Connery, whoever that dude was in GoldenEye. Pierce Brosnan?
Pierce Bronson, yeah, he was definitely one.
Right now, there are 24 James Bond films produced.
Is that
okay,
include,
23 was a pretty close guess.
I don't...
That might include the one that's going to come
probably
out.
20, actually 26.
Oh, never mind. My guess wasn't that good.
This was in 2015.
Oh. And is that counting the new one that hasn't come out yet? No Time to Die?
It might. I'm kind of guessing it does.
Let me ask Siri. What number James Bond movie is No Time to Die? That's me talking to Siri.
Yeah. Thank you for giving some context to all of our audio listeners.
No Time to Die is actually the 25th. Actually.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
So you're pretty close.
Yeah. That's all that matters. It doesn't care if you guys think this was a good movie or not. I was very close in my guess. I am happy. I am pleased.
Okay, so now our quote of the movie. Me and Zach are gonna have to do a little back and forth for this one. So I'm playing Vesper, and
of course I'm playing James Jimothy Bond.
And I'll be playing the silent cringing of me.
So okay, I have to get into character. I like wearing dresses. Okay. And I'm kind of smart, but also mischievous. I don't know. Now I'm Vesper. Okay. Am I going to have a problem with you, Mr. Bond?
No, don't worry. You're not my type.
Smart.
Single.
Mic drop. It was just really funny. Their banter back and forth in the train scene.
In the movie, the actors are actually good, so the line kind of works, but
Ben, we should act out all of our quotes from now on.
Yeah, we have talked about doing sketches at the start of our movies, making fun of the movies that we review. So this is we could redo the whole train scene, just me and Zach. That would be amazing.
Just do a whole reenactment.
And now for our outsider review. We have. Why do we do our outsider review, Zach?
Because you can always be a pessimist, Jonathan.
That's right. And the guy who we brought in to do our outsider review from Rotten Tomatoes, his name is Gregory Weinkauf. So probably European because his website is Ubercine. So I'm 100%
Yes,
sure it's one of your.
Cine. I
His
frequent
review-
that website very often.
His review consists of 2 words: junk bond. Period. I looked at the list. There's only 15 negative reviews on Rotten Tomato for this movie, and I just see one that says junk bond, and I'm like, this is the insight that we're looking for from our critics.
Yes. By the way, my apologies to the audio listeners. I just saw in Audacity my audio peaked there for a hot second, so I'm very, very sorry about that. Forgive me.
We'll have to reduce your volume in post. We can fix everything in post.
Yeah.
That's what people
Well,
always say.
Yeah, that's what they say about bad movies. We'll just fix it in post. Avatar: The Last Airbender. We'll just fix it in post.
Oh, I love the show. Hate the movie.
Oh, is it the M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Man.
M. Night Shyamalan has such a weird record because his good stuff is really good, but his bad stuff is really bad.
Yeah. I think we said that once in the podcast.
Yeah, I think he's coming out with a new movie though, and I'm kind of excited for it. Even though I really haven't watched that much of his stuff, I've just heard I know he has a plot twist at the end of every single movie, and that's pretty
The
much
plot twist of the Avatar one is that it's bad.
You thought it was gonna be good, but it's
But
actually
you see,
bad.
he did something very creative there. The twist is at the very beginning.
Oh, that they only do the water book?
No,
Spoiler
no.
alert.
Oh. No.
I'm
The
just kidding,
twist is
nobody's-
that it's bad from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
true.
it's not at
Sorry,
the end.
That's
Most
Zach
plot
taking
twists
a
are at
joke
the end.
literally again.
Yeah. Somebody else said this movie is The Spy Who Gagged Me. Just wanted to leave that one on everyone's palate.
Oh.
Ben, is it
Interesting.
Wes Anderson coming out with a new movie?
Yeah, The French Dispatch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one will be also really exciting. Hopefully it'll be good. I mean, I haven't watched a bad Wes Anderson movie yet.
So, do you think that the Junk Bond review was against your views?
I think it was probably just either it was a person who really adores the older classic Bond movies, or someone who's just not into the genre very much.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. That seems like what
Because
would
to
happen.
call even if I saw something that I didn't like, I don't know if I'd call it junk. I just know I wouldn't like it. If I were to call something junk, it's because I have a previous history with it or really despise it.
Maybe he has
to
a
begin
traumatic
with.
past of a James Bond incident.
Yeah,
Maybe he
Bond.
tried out for James Bond and didn't get the part.
He's just like Daniel
Just
Craig.
jealous.
Daniel Craig shouldn't have gotten this. Gregory Weinkauf should have been James Bond.
The
even
name's
though-
Gregory. Or Weinkauf. Gregory Weinkauf.
It just rolls off the tongue, you know.
No, Gregory Weinkauf sounds like one of the villains from.
Half of our podcast is just making fun of critics' names. It's been like that since day one.
A.O.
or day
Scott.
2. A.O. Scott.
Well, if it's really half of it, we have to keep this up for another 10 minutes or something, dude.
Oh yeah, that would be annoying. Oh, so Gregory, the name Gregory just reminds me. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Diary from a Kid.
All right.
Segway.
So, there were several cars wrecked in this movie. I'm going to be completely honest. And you know what that means. James Bond better have had good car insurance, but I had a hot tip that his car insurance was not good. Mr. Bond should have called Hedman Anglin Agency to save money on his auto insurance, and perhaps even his home and business insurance, although I'm not really sure he was a business owner, considering that he was an agent. But, maybe he could have recommended it to a friend who had a business. Or that one guy, Mads Mikkelsen, the chief, what was his name?
The chief.
Yeah, he had a business. He needed some insurance when he lost all that money, And
He needed some above the ground insurance for his underground
operation. Yeah, he needed some.
For his underground criminal.
Yeah, he needed some legal insurance for his criminal organization. I'm not saying that Hedman Anglin Agency can do that. You'll probably have to go to a more dishonest insurance company because Hedman Anglin is very
Go
honest.
to
Do
Better
we want
Call
to
Saul.
restart this? Do we want to restart this? I feel like
No,
I
we're
feel
good.
like they.
You just
Okay.
you just need to call 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300. And if you do, make sure you tell them that Ben and Zach sent you and that you have a totally legitimate business.
The
And
name's Ben and Zach.
yes,
Wow, I actually didn't cringe at that one.
Yes.
that was actually a good joke. Now that we've talked about how good of a joke that was, it probably made it a worse joke. But anyway,
All right, pat yourselves on the back now. Come on, do it.
now we're going to get into our rating of the movie. So our 10-point rating system, trademarked by me and Zach, or Zach and I. And
Oh, good. I was thinking about that in my head, but you corrected yourself. So
yeah, I will always correct myself when I say me and something. I can do that. So
It's like autocorrect.
right, we're starting out with sentiment, which is your feeling, your emotions, how the movie affected you and impacted you on a psychological level.
How did this change you? How did this change your experience?
I don't know about you, but I wasn't a ruthless killer before this movie.
I was, and this movie changed me into being more of a ruthless killer. Oh,
Ben really took out the good message out of this.
yes. No, but I would say I gave this a.
Well, no, that's for later. The message is
Yeah.
for later, Zach.
Yeah,
I
there.
agree.
Come on,
I
man.
always get confused at my own rating system.
Yeah, I gave this the sentiment a 7 because I thought I liked it, but I didn't like it like a ton. But I liked it.
Yeah, I gave it a 6. I loved the action sequences. Of course, that took up about half the movies, which is good. So, I mean, it's a James Bond movie. What do you expect? So, yeah. What about you, John?
Yeah. I did an 8 just because I don't know very much about what the rules of poker are, but I was enthralled during all the poker scenes, and that's very impressive.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah.
I feel like I wasn't enthralled enough, but I think that was a fault of my where I was watching it. I think the scenes were very like well done in terms of like how they portrayed the poker game, because it would be kind of difficult to like the general audience isn't going to know how to play Texas Hold'em necessarily. So so to get everyone to be engaged in that scene is definitely an impressive
I can only
work of
imagine that
art.
if you actually know all the rules, that's like top 10 like movie moments like in general. I'm sure if you actually know the rules and understand how the game works, unlike me. Instead I see, ooh, pretty chip. And then call it a day.
Well, every time I imagined it as a fight in my head. Every time they laid down a chip, it was another punch.
Yeah. That's a good way
Yeah.
to look at it.
Yeah. That was probably like part of the intent in mind. But anyway, I don't want to sing the praises of just that in particular too much, but yeah, 8 because they did something that was very impressive to me. They made that engaging even though I have no idea how to play the game.
All right, so next is Message, which I gave a 6.
I apologize, Jonathan. I give it a 4 for message.
No. I gave it a 1.
Oh
Message is
my
basic-
goodness.
Think about it. The message is basically trust no one, not even your allies, which just doesn't apply at all.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm bumping it up to
Ben,
a 2,
You
but like
loser, putting it at a 6.
Okay. Let me explain myself first. That is the most literal message you can get out of this movie.
I suppose.
deep
Because
message.
if you look more at how the characters interact with each other, you can see the pitfall. Like, think about how, like, it is kind of about trusting no one, but it's also learning how to know who you can trust. Because, you know, this girl, he didn't know her that well, and he chose to get involved in this relationship very suddenly. That was a business relationship, you know?
When she was already involved with another man, too.
Yeah.
So it's
And-
his mistake.
And so, like, you got to look at those choices that the people make in the movie and be like, okay, so what did we learn through these whole experiences? Now, ultimately, it affects James Bond very negatively, I guess you could say, in turn, but it turns him into being more cold-hearted and less of a person. So in that way, it's sort of like a tragedy. But he also sort of starts out that way. So it is interesting.
Yeah.
That goes more into character
You know
arcs,
what?
I
You know
guess.
what? I'm willing to bump it up to a 3. But as
Okay.
far as the message is concerned, it is fairly weak in this movie, I will admit.
Yeah, I was probably a little
Can't
bit.
wait for your audience to disagree with me.
I was probably a bit generous with the
They're
message.
going to rip you apart, Jonathan.
Man, they're gonna rip me apart even though I was the one that recommended this movie and actually quite like it.
Next is plot though, which I gave a 7 because it's kind of messy, but it also works. It's a little long though, I will say.
I give it a 5. I gave it a 7 at first because I liked it because it was, it's good. It's action-y. It's got a good, like, flow, I guess. Is that a good way to put it? And then, but I think it just dragged on. I think they could have ended it with that boat scene where they're just going off into the sunset, him and...
Yeah.
But then they had another half hour where she
Could they
betrays
have
him.
though?
Well, they go in another half hour and they betray him. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like it was supposed to end there.
Okay.
The thing is, I see where you're coming from, but Bond's character arc would not have been completed
Yeah,
if
that's
where they left it off.
That's what I think too. I don't.
So
think
it's
this
like, I
movie is the
agree with
same.
you, but I also disagree.
Yeah, but could they have
It's
cut
like-
it an hour out, maybe? That's what I'm trying to say.
Here's what I think they could have trimmed the fat on this movie, but I
They
don't.
could have.
But I don't think they could have trimmed an hour out of this movie. But I don't think they
No,
could have just cut
definitely
out
not.
the last half hour. They would need to cut out. And then when you start trimming the fat on James Bond, that means you have less action scenes,
Well,
which is what people
Daniel
want.
Craig already had all the fat trimmed off of him anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Ayo.
What criteria is that under? Is that under acting? Is that
Yeah,
what that part is under?
probably.
Let's put that under acting, Or
Just
we
the
could
straight
put that
up
under
physicality,
cinematography.
How attractive the cast is.
Cinematography.
Style.
Well, what was your score, Jonathan?
I'm kind of between a 7 and an 8. I'm gonna say probably more of a 7. I'm taking 2 points off because the story is kind of hard to follow on the first go around, and also I do agree. I do wish it was a teensy bit shorter.
It's like a Christopher Nolan movie in that there's a lot of working pieces, but it lacks like the interesting part of a Nolan movie that's like the time, or like playing with time. So it's like, imagine you have like Tenet, but you don't have the time traveling, which obviously Tenet was probably based on James Bond, so that's not necessarily a great comparison, but you get what I'm saying. Like Tenet has that other interesting aspect of like sci-fi going on,
Layers.
with layers, where this is just straight up spy, so it doesn't have that going for it, I guess.
Yeah. Again, if you're into it, you're gonna love it. If you're not into it,
Yeah, that's true.
If you're not into it, it's just, yeah. All right. With that excellent segue, that is totally non-existent into character
We
arcs,
always do that.
Unless you have something else to say. I don't want to interrupt.
Regarding the length, I guess, of the movie, I would just say that I understand wanting to cut it, but I don't know that it could have been cut that much.
I don't know.
I didn't
there
like
were like
how long
10-minute
it was.
action sequences at a time, and I liked the action. That was my.
That's the
favorite
problem
part.
is, how do you sell this movie if there's not action sequences? Like, I
But,
just
like,
don't see how
a lot
you
of,
cut
but
time
I
out
think
of
you
this.
even said this at one point. You said that the talking in the movie sometimes just wasn't like integral.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, the dialogue didn't seem super important all the time. Like, you could sort of follow what was happening without like really closely following the dialogue.
So I was thinking you could trim those and then trim the action sequences, and you could probably get good 40 minutes out.
Yeah,
I don't know, I
think
don't know
it
about
has
40 minutes. I feel like that's a lot.
it
Maybe
kind of
an hour?
suffers
I'm sure.
from the same problem that Nolan suffers from, in that it uses the characters as more of plot devices than actual characters that you get engaged in. Aside from Bond, I would say, and maybe Vesper.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the two of them had, like, you were sort of invested in them as people, but everyone else was just sort of like, I don't really care.
they were
just kind of there.
On the bright
Yeah.
side, it didn't drag as much as the first half of the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. It didn't drag as much as the first half.
I've heard that is, like, very actually,
4 hours.
somebody brought that up. Actually, that Snyder cut was like that.
I was
seen
very
it.
tempted to have
Probably
that be
won't,
the
to
movie
be
we'll
honest.
watch, but man, 4 hours. It was just it would just be too
I
much,
don't know if we could have done that. We would have still.
You guys were
we would've been
complaining.
halfway
You guys
through
are
the
complaining
movie
about the
now.
length on like a 2-hour, 15-minute movie. Like 4 hours. It'd be too much.
Yeah, that's the thing about us. Zach and I are very much on camp. If you can make an hour and a half long movie that
Or
is
an hour, 20
compelling,
minutes, I'd say.
an hour and 20 minutes, then that's a good movie. But like, once you start getting past an hour and a half, you better have a good movie. Otherwise, I'm not gonna just not gonna enjoy it.
And that's
that
probably our
much.
preference, because like our lectures in school are usually an hour and 20 for me, at least.
So that's just how
So-
long your mind is used to being engaged with something.
Yeah, not even that, because I could probably be engaged for longer than that. It's just like, how long do I want to sit down? I want to go outside.
It's also because I feel like movie directors don't utilize the extra time well a lot of the time. Like, they have extra time, but like, it's just excess. It's not actually driving.
And what's the point?
And
It's more money to do that.
It's not exploring the characters in a way that it could. It's kind of like, you would think TV shows could have better character development because they're longer, but a lot of times they just end up having more characters, so
Yeah.
there's not actually more development.
Yeah, my strategy for watching TV shows is usually the first season is fine, but then once you're past that, I bump up the playback speed because most of it is kind of useless, except for like really good shows.
Like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
That has good character development though. Anyway, speaking of character development, we got to get into character arcs.
That was a much
We
better
spent
segue
probably-
than the non-existent one I did. Good job.
Yes. I also gave this a 7 because I really liked James Bond's character arcs. I didn't as much like a lot of the other characters' arcs, and especially Vesper's. I don't know. I know it was necessary, but I just didn't like it that much, I guess.
That's fair.
If that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah, I gave it a 6. I think for the same reasons. It's just
Yeah.
that equates to a 6 for me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go 8. So we kind of got a 6, 7, 8 kind of going on here. We're all in the same range, I'd say.
So it's like the most positive view of character arc, the most negative view of character arc, and then
But
me
we're
as the
but we all
average.
but we're all kind of in the same area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
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 Ben's in between us. We made a Ben sandwich.
We really did.
Yep.
We really did. I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to say, honestly.
I think we covered a lot of like character arcs already.
Yeah,
so
when
probably
we were
don't
talking
have to
about
spend a whole lot of
plot
time.
and message and sentiment and all that sort of stuff, we kind of talked
They
about
should have
it.
had an. They should have had an Idris Elba cameo.
Yes,
Yes, good old.
Idris Elba
good old,
could be in every single movie.
You know what? He should have been the CIA agent, Idris Elba.
He should have been James
Isn't
Bond.
he British though?
Yeah, he should
Oh
have been
yeah.
James Bond.
Well,
I think he is British,
Well,
so he could be an MI6
weren't there
agent.
rumors going around of him actually being the next Bond for a little bit? I don't know
I
if they're
think-
still going around, but
I think they might still be going on. I don't think they've announced who.
I
the
really
next
would
James
have.
Bond is gonna be.
I'd actually quite like it if he was James Bond. I think he's cool.
I think he could pull it off.
Oh yeah, he could absolutely pull it off. Yeah.
And he would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is interesting because they're gonna keep making James Bond movies, but how are they gonna make them, like I don't know. It's just how are they gonna make them consistently good because they have used so many different things for James Bond.
Well, you see,
movies.
that's
Like,
their
how many-
secret. They're not consistently good.
Oh, I see. I see.
I can't remember if this was while we were recording or while we were setting up, but again, Quantum of Solace is not a good movie.
Oh yeah,
And to be honest,
I think you mentioned that.
Spectre, which is the one that comes after Skyfall, is only a little bit better.
so it's kind of hit or miss with James Bond.
Yeah. The Daniel Craig era has sort of been every other one is a good one.
Interesting.
So I'm fingers crossed. No
so
Time to Die is going to be a good one.
I'm just gonna watch every other one then. I'm just kidding.
You're going to read the plot summary just so you can keep up with everything, and then
On to the next.
Yep. on to
But
the next.
cinematography, I feel like is gonna be more positive, because I thought it was really good. I gave it an 8.
Yeah.
It was at least like above average for sure. Like with all the action shots,
Yeah.
it was just the camera drew attention where it needed to, and it stood out a little bit more than like a lot of the times the problems with the movies we review is like, well, the camera work was good, but like it didn't do anything like
Well,
amazing. But I feel like this movie had more time.
You're saying it's good, but I'm looking over at Zach, and something about his facial expression is just a little bit unconvinced.
Actually, I gave it the same score.
Really?
I think Zach's just tired.
I'm just
Okay. Are you unconvinced? I'm tired. I can't tell. Yeah. So 8's for both of you. I said 9 because I really do like it. It's just the editing kind of let it down. Because sometimes the editing isn't very good, and also I'm not a big shaky cam person, and there's a fair bit of it.
I'm a big shaky cam person.
Our first review was good
I
time.
love Lars von Trier. I mean, I don't love Lars von Trier. That's a little strong. I admire Lars von Trier's shaky camera style. I don't condone everything that he chooses to put in his movies, but I do condone his style of camera work.
Yeah.
Which might not even be him, but he uses it in both of the movies of his that I've watched.
But 9 because
And-
the editing and the shaky cam.
All right, that's fair.
When we watched Good Time, there was those camera shots of really close-ups, and you liked those too.
I love
so
that,
you like
yeah.
experimental camera shots.
Yeah, that's true.
You
I
like
don't know
more
if you've
like
ever watched.
interesting, like engaging type stuff rather than just this is the information presented to you.
Yeah, Ben likes those experimental things. I like it when I can see the characters when there's a scene going on, you know?
Have you ever watched Uncut Gems?
No, I'm not.
That is like shaky cam and close-up shots. Maybe not shaky cam
You
as
ever
much,
seen the
but
Bourne
close-up
trilogy?
shots. And then there's also just sound going on like constantly everywhere. Like there's people talking over each other the whole movie. It's amazing. But I feel like people would also hate it because some people also hate it because
You see-
like when everyone's talking over everyone else and it's hard to
What?
pay attention to who's saying
What?
that.
Well, you see,
Like,
I
it
don't
just
know if
gets
I
really
necessarily
confusing.
agree with everything that you're saying, but really, this is just an example of me talking over you, and I really appreciate if you keep on talking
What
for
are
the
you
sake of
talking
this
about?
example.
Wait,
All
why-
Benji?
yeah, I
Can
don't-
you just do that
like,
for me? All
yeah.
right, I greatly appreciate
Guys,
it.
I mean,
stop
I can do
talking
that
over
if you
each
let
other.
me. I mean, you
Stop
gotta
I
let
feel
me.
like I've made my point
Stop
well
it.
enough.
You're making me cry.
All right. Now onto originality, which I give a 6 because it's a Bond movie. So like it can only, but it's original in some regards because it has a new Bond. So you gotta give it points for
Wow,
having.
Ben. You and I did the same one again.
Wow. I'm
We do this a
I'm
lot,
kind of
I
the
feel
odd
like.
one out here. Usually I'm the one that's more positive, but I'm a little more negative. I'm giving it a 5 because technically it's based on a book.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's true. That does kind of like in my
Casino Royale was first a book, although from what I understand, a lot of changes were made. The overall like grander plot line came from that.
I'm
book,
shocked
from
that
what I
they made
understand.
changes. I would have expected them to stay exactly close to the book. You know, Hollywood
Yeah.
usually does that.
Why couldn't they just keep it the exact same like the Hobbit trilogy?
Yeah, I know, right?
We hate Hollywood.
We don't like. We're Hollywood. We're against Hollywood.
Anti-Hollywoods.
Yeah. If I was a
more,
movie
are you
maker,
more Georgia people because of the number of movies made there? More Georgia
no.
peach.
No, I just say that like if I was a movie director, I wouldn't hire anyone from Hollywood. I'd be like hiring like random people off the street because my movies would be like that experimental, you know.
I
It's just not as authentic if you're hiring professionals, you know.
I think the peak of television, movies, any cinema is Disney Channel early 2000s.
Oh, that's kind of a hot take.
Well, you know, some people have opinions, and sometimes
I
they're
feel
wrong,
like
so
you got to go with like something like 50s European cinema or something like
No.
Bergman or like
Okay.
Truffaut.
This probably just has to do a lot with just I don't know if you're aware of this, Zach, but I make animation stuff. I really like mid to early 2000s like animated movies.
Okay, that's actually a
Like
good call
Astro
too.
Boy?
Because like, well, I was thinking more like Pixar did a lot of good movies in that era.
Are you talking
Disney
about
did
3D
some good stuff.
animation?
3D or 2D, honestly.
Okay.
Just
Emperor's
animation
New,
in general.
Emperor's New Groove,
Yes,
2001.
Emperor's
Princess
New
and the
Groove.
Frog,
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember if that was mid or kind of
Rapunzel, So Tangled.
No, that was late 2000s. You're
Uh,
not getting the early to mid.
Early.
The Incredibles,
Cars,
Monsters Inc., Cars.
Cars
Um,
2.
What was
Let
the
me
other
check
one?
something real quick.
Toy Story 2.
Oh yeah, that was
Not
like
Cars 2.
2002.
Oh, okay. This was 1999, but I'm gonna count it. The Iron Giant.
Oh, I haven't
I
seen
love
that
that
one.
movie.
I've heard it's very good.
Ben, you would cry your eyes out.
I would.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I'm a big
Fox and the
animation guy.
Hound.
I'm a nerd about all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of. How did we get on this topic?
I don't know. I'm just saying that from my like any mid like late 50s early 60s European movie that I've watched has been good so far, but there hasn't been that many. So I can't really make a like blind statement that European cinema from the 50s to the 60s was like the best.
no, the best was, you know, what
Because,
I
like-
said, early 2000s Disney Channel.
Because like one of my favorite I like one of my favorite movies is 8.5. That's Federico Fellini. It's really amazing.
Zack and
then,
Cody.
Would it shock you to know that I've never heard of that?
No, it would not shock
Sweet
me.
Life on
and then
Deck.
The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman is
Corey
also
in the House.
like really amazing.
That's so Raven.
And then we got the 400 Blows by Francois Truffaut. Like if you're like a big like earlier movies person, you would know all those movies. But if you're not, then you wouldn't. It's kind of
I'm
one
just.
of those things.
Pair of
It's just this back and forth of just hearing movies that I've never heard of before versus titles that I've actually heard but I've never seen. And just like
That's
Corey
so
in the
rude.
House, 300 blows. It's like, oh, okay.
They should
No,
do a
it's
cross.
400 blows.
400?
Very
400?
important that you get the right number.
They
on
should
that
do a
one.
Corey in the House 400 Blows crossover.
What was Corey in the House about?
It was it's this guy and his dad's the chef for the president and he lives in the White House.
Okay, so you could do it sort of because 400 Blows is about this random kid who went to school, who like skipped school, and like his parents, like his mom's cheating on his dad, like but it's in France.
Okay, so like there's international relations and Corey goes with his dad to an international agreement.
Yeah.
Or not his dad. Maybe his dad went with the president or whatever. And then they meet
Okay.
the French
And
people and then Corey gets involved in all that kind of stuff and has to shoot up a bunch of people.
I don't know.
Now that
That's
I'm not
like
as
the 400
I'm not
Blows.
as familiar with all the lore here, but do you think there could be a "That's So Raven" cameo at the end credits?
Oh,
scene,
probably.
you know?
Or
We
could-
could fit that in.
That's the Raven. She can predict the future. That's what she does.
Zack and I's career in movies is going
And
to
then
be
that ties
making,
into the sequel that will never.
is going to
come
be
out.
making spoof parodies, mashing two different movies of unrelated genres together.
Remember we tried to make the guy Inspector Gravy spinoff?
Oh yeah, we should do. We need to do the Inspector Gravy spinoff from Killer Sofa.
Yes, you should watch The Killer Sofa, Jonathan. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
Well,
it's on Amazon
I'll
Prime.
add it to the list.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Beware.
Make
it's
sure you
scary.
push that one towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
All right. I'll
You'll
put it
never sit
just
in a
above the
sofa
Steve
again.
Jobs movie. I'll put it just above the Steve Jobs movie because I heard good things about that one.
That one's probably good. Have you seen The Social Network?
I've not.
That one's good. We reviewed that one on the podcast.
I've seen so many clips online of the Steve Jobs movie, and I love the dialogue.
Oh yeah,
Because it has that overlapping, but it's not annoying.
It's,
Because you can still discern everything.
It's Aaron Sorkin, so he's the same guy who wrote The Social Network, and
Yeah.
like he also did the Chicago of the Trial 7, which came out last year, I think. Anyway, we've kind of, I mean, this is what the
while we're
podcast
on
is really.
plot-
The podcast is really all about the tangents. It's not about the structure.
Yeah.
It's not
I
about
was about to say,
keeping
this is turning
everything
into more
super
of an
defined.
outside the vaults episode more than a James Bond one.
Yeah, but James Bond can only hold people's attention so long. They really come to hear us talk, right, listeners?
Right, tangents, like in calculus.
But we got to get into
Oh
acting.
no! Don't say the C word.
The mathematician C word.
See, I don't think I even took calculus. I managed to do like trigonometry and then call it a day.
Hey,
Anywho,
tangent
that's
is
it.
also in trigonometry.
That's
so-
true. You do not. Get
I
to-
know. I've just merely erased most of trigonometry, so it's really not that big of a deal.
He single-handedly erased all of trigonometry.
Yeah.
Back up, incomplete, deleted.
Yeah, you ever just wonder how and why trigonometry books are so expensive? It's not because college textbooks are expensive. It's because I got rid of most of them. So
So they had to rewrite them all.
yeah.
That's pretty. annoying.
Anywho, moving on.
Acting.
Good. Yes.
I gave acting an 8 because it's pretty good. It's pretty solid all around.
I gave it a 7 -1 because I didn't like Vesper's acting that much.
You didn't? I thought she was fine.
No, I just that smug face.
I thought it was a good smug face and it accurately portrayed her character.
No, the actress was going beyond the screen with that smug face.
I also really like Mads Mikkelsen for some reason. I can't explain it. I just like him.
Yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
fit the character of the guy in the black suit and the scarred eye. That's the guy you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
he has such a defined face.
Yeah, it's very
He
bony.
really does.
Although we need.
The
The
problem.
skin is tight. On
I
his
love
face.
Mads Mikkelsen, but whenever I see him in a movie, I don't think, oh, it's whatever his character is. Oh, I say, oh, it's Mads Mikkelsen.
I know that is the problem with people like Mads Mikkelsen. It's like, wow, it's him because he's so recognizable.
Or like Shaquille O'Neal.
Same goes with a lot of other popular
When
actors.
Shaquille O'Neal acts, I don't think he's a character. I think he's Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah. Although Daniel Craig, I gotta talk about him for a second because I feel like while that he was really good, I'm not sure what this might be like my least favorite Daniel Craig performance that I've seen because I've seen him in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is I wouldn't say I would recommend that movie for people to watch because it's really dark and it has like content that is like pretty,
Oh, did the editor just not get the brightness settings right?
well, it is actually dark like in like
They had
that
glow in the
sense,
dark
too.
tattoos. Don't worry.
Because the movie is set in Sweden and everything is super dark and cold looking. But he's like a lot better in that movie, I would say. Like it's sort of like
is
the
he
same
the girl in the dragon tattoo?
the same idea of James Bond. Not really like he's not a spy, but like he has the same sort of personality, but it just works better with that movie. And then like in Logan Lucky, he plays like a redneck.
Oh, I
And,
remember that.
and he's hilarious in that movie. I wouldn't say that's better necessarily, but it's interesting.
Knives Out.
Oh, he's
hilarious.
He's great in Knives Out too, which I haven't seen the whole thing of, but I've seen enough of his role to say he's good. So that's
Yeah.
why I mean, like I'm not like a Daniel Craig. Like I haven't watched every single one of his movies, but like I kind of
You're
like him in
you're
other
not a
stuff
Daniel
better.
Craig enthusiast, but you like his work.
Yeah,
But this one was a bit of a letdown from what you expect from him. A
Yeah.
slight letdown. Okay, fair enough. And then you said 7, Zach?
Yeah, just her smug face. I don't
That's
know what
it.
it was.
It's just-
Maybe it was my own. It was probably just me. But honestly, I didn't
Yeah.
like her character that much. I like Daniel Craig though. That's why I gave it above
Yeah.
above a 5. So
Yeah. I mean, so here's the deal. My score is very positive, but it's just because I'm not very good at finding complaints with this type of thing. Just 10 because I can't find much to complain about. It's like for all the weird lines that are in the movie, I will admit, they're all pulled off pretty darn well.
I get.
Like,
Yeah, I can see that. Like why you would give it a 10. Like I think
Yeah.
the acting is very professionally done, but I think the difference is that I look at it more like, okay, are the actors elevating the movie to another level or
Yeah.
not? And
Yeah,
I don't feel like they were elevating it to another level. I feel like they were just sort of like keeping it
Yeah.
at where they needed it to be. but they weren't pulling
Yeah.
it down either. So like
Yeah.
they might have been slightly.
I just yeah, no complaints. It's just nothing really exceptional either. So I don't know. Maybe I'm willing to put it down to a 9, but I'll stick with 10. I'll stick with 10. I'll settle here.
Stick to your guns.
Yeah, I'll stick to my guns.
So I now we're on to style, which I gave an 8 because like James Bond is just so cool.
Yeah, if you want to watch a James Bond movie, you have to watch a James Bond movie.
Yeah, like everything is straight out of like a Saks Fifth Avenue magazine. Like he's wearing like the nicest stuff,
yeah, watches, nice cars.
Yeah,
And that's why I gave it a 6, because I don't like that style that much.
yeah.
It is kind of, I get it, most people do, but for me, because a lot of movies, in my opinion, are like that nowadays, and maybe they most likely came from James Bond, like derived from it,
Christopher Nolan.
but this movie also came from older James Bond movies, and I know he is James Bond, but he's still derived from another James Bond. So that's why I gave style a 6, and that could be more originality, but I like the style, but it's like when you eat a lot of food, you know, like you want to try different foods.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I just did a 9 because, like I said earlier, if you want to watch a James Bond movie, you have to watch a James Bond movie. There's very few other avenues that you can go to get that kind of like style of movie, you know.
Other than Nolan, and only 2 of his
yeah.
movies, Inception and actually a lot of it.
I'd argue you can get a smidgen of it from some moments of like the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yes, because I think the Mission Impossible franchise is the American version of James Bond, in
It's
essence.
pretty much becoming that, isn't it? Yeah.
And
pretty soon they're
essential-
gonna have to swap out Tom Cruise, and it's gonna actually be James Bond because they're gonna have like a revolving door of actors.
Because I kind of think that it focuses more on the stunts though. Like that's why people like Mission Impossible. Where
Yeah.
James Bond is also the stunts, but I don't know. There's a little bit supposed to be a little bit more to James Bond from what my perception of it was. Like I would never go into Mission Impossible being like, I can't wait to watch the in-depth story plot. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't be going into James Bond thinking that either. Maybe that's just a flaw of what I'm like expecting out of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also it doesn't help that Casino Royale is one of the more hyped up movies in the franchise, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
next we have soundtrack, which I gave a 7, but I honestly did not like it. Didn't stick out to me. Like I don't know. Like a lot of times the soundtrack, it's either like I really recognize the soundtrack or I just don't. It's just sort of like in the background. But I kind of assume it's good if it's in the background because that means it's doing its job.
Well, you see, I think I have a different philosophy where it is dependent on the movie. Sometimes you want the soundtrack to stick out, and sometimes that's a really great thing. Like I think to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies,
Yeah.
the soundtrack sticks out like crazy, and it is an excellent part of the movie. Other times when it's just very background, it does work very well. But I mean, the thing is that there's a lot of iconic, like the James Bond theme. It's not so iconic as you could kind of like hum it very well, but like you hear it and you instantly recognize it. So like, but at the same time, the rest of it was kind of boring in my opinion. So probably 7 because the James Bond theme and some of the other more prominent pieces kind of save it.
I gave it a 7. I think it was just like, I enjoyed the James Bond sounds. They're similar throughout the movies. They're pretty similar, right?
They got the brass that makes it unique.
And I liked the intro,
you know.
the intro credit things, like the.
Oh yeah, that was actually
yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah, that adds to the style. Hold on, never mind. It's a 10. that adds an extra point to the style. I forgot about that.
Like the intro credit scene
I'm
was
going
like
back.
normally you get annoyed that they have those, but there's a few movies that you're like, oh, this is really cool. Like I would say this movie, and then like a movie like Seven would also as an example of like a really cool opening. Like it's just words on a screen, but it's just like the music and the way it's done is just very like engaging versus some movies that are just like
Yeah.
super boring.
And lastly,
Yeah.
choreography.
Which is kind of like a necessity.
Oh, I forgot about that bit. Hold
Which
on.
is more like this is like action choreography, I guess. Unless we're talking
Yeah.
about an actual musical, in which case I guess it might be like
like dancing
dancing
and whatever.
the
whatever
stars.
else.
I didn't even know my coat could do this. Is that even?
Ben just discovered
We're
that.
gonna talk about. Are we gonna talk
I don't
about
think
the
that's on
choreography
purpose.
of Mads Mikkelsen flipping that like chip around while he
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
Yeah, you
thinking?
can. We sometimes our choreography, like in Trolls, our choreography was the movement of their hair. So
Yeah, so you have to.
I hate to break it to you, dude. Most of that was a simulation.
I know, but the stunt actors did a good job. The stunt doubles. Okay.
Wait, you're meaning to tell me that it's a simulation? Life is a.
Like the Matrix,
Oh
dude.
my goodness, we're in a simulation.
No, I'm gonna be honest. Like,
No,
life is becoming
you're
harder and
not.
harder to decipher with like electronics. Like, one day we're gonna have simulations as real as Ready Player One, and we're gonna have things like that available at our disposal. So life will either become like people will become disconnected from reality, and other people will like try to avoid that stuff and stay in reality, and those two groups will just not talk to each other.
And then there will be the people who are, what is reality? And they'll just be like confused.
That'll probably be me and Ben.
Then there'll be
We'll make a podcast
There'll be
about
the
it.
philosophers who ruin it for everyone else.
That's true. Philosophers ruin everything.
That's our spin-off podcast. What is reality? And it's just us asking questions and not giving any answers.
It's like,
And laughing
what
about
is
them.
this plastic water bottle?
like-
What is this bottle?
It's like Ben and I. We ask really deep questions, don't answer them, but laugh about it because we don't actually like care deeply that much.
We're like, how you guys actually care about this stuff?
The meaning of life? What?
what is emotion, though?
What is
you know?
it? Why do you feel something? Why does it burn within you? And
Emotional intelligence.
Why does pain hurt?
yes, why does it hurt?
Well, that can be scientifically.
Yeah, that's true. It's actually just to warn your body that something bad's happening, probably. It's kind of boring, actually.
But why does the signal have to be that aggressive? Why can't it be the body just...
Why can't it be like,
oh, by the way, there's some pressure here.
oh, this feeling is so pleasant. I need to stop.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's weird to think about. Like if a knife's going in you and it
If
just
you-
tickles.
You know what?
Like, oh, I need to get this knife out.
Yeah, I'm dying.
You know, it'd just be really nice if life had like if your body just had an options menu where you could tune the sensitivity.
Yeah, it's like you're in Minecraft hardcore mode and you can make it to easy mode.
Yeah, because say
Yeah.
like I'm a runner, so say you could turn the like pain part off, then you could really run to what your
Then I would be a runner.
physiological capacity was instead of being held back by pain. Because obviously everyone can only get to a certain level of being able to run, like from a physiological perspective. But like
I feel like
pain
if-
can
if the
keep
body-
you from getting to that
if the-
point. So
If the
that's all I'm
human
saying.
body actually had options like that, I feel like turning off pain entirely would have to be a dev cheat, you know?
Yeah.
Like a slash pain set 0 or something like that. I feel like that wouldn't be available to just anyone. you
Right.
know?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, to get to our total score, so I gave choreography an 8. Did you guys say what you gave? Choreography.
No.
I also gave it an 8. Ben, you kind of like matched up here, but my total score is way less than yours. Let me re-add it just in case.
No, I think it's just
I guess I haven't really thought about it very much. I'll do 8 as well, just because that's a very agreeable number.
Yeah, I gave mine's totally a 63%.
and mine's totally a 72.
Which is good on our podcast.
Actually, that's
Jonathan.
not that bad, to be honest, on our podcast.
And mine is totally not added up yet, so give me a second.
Okay, well we'll sort of move in.
I'm just joking.
We can move into Britta moments. Britta moments with Britta, which is plot holes and things we didn't like. And we call it Britta moments because of Britta from Community, and you'll just have to watch the show to know why.
Yeah. Or watch YouTube.
Let me just.
We're tired of
Got it.
explaining it.
Yeah. All right, next part.
My score is actually kind of lower than I thought it would be. 67.
Really?
Wow, lower than Ben.
Oh, that's
I am very surprised.
It's because
by
you
it.
gave-
it's because I put message so low.
Yeah, that's what. If
it
you want to
is.
get a good score, you have to be.
Because you
somewhat
gave it a
cons-
6.
Yeah.
If I had given it 3 extra points, it would have been up in 70, and I would be like, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. It's just because message is
So
very weak
at
in
the
this
end of
movie,
the
in my
day,
opinion.
I'm still the most optimistic film critic, even by somebody who says they like the movie, and I'm like, I sort of like the movie, and I still end up rating it higher. Life is not fair.
Yeah. It's just because your criteria doesn't take into account Daniel Craig's beautiful blue eyes, okay?
That's fair.
They were unnaturally blue. Those were so blue. Like he would squint and you could still see the blueness.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
know, right?
That's why they hired him.
Jonathan gets really ecstatic about it.
So
If that had been added in, would have easily been over 100, but
I
c'est
know.
la vie, you know.
I'm sorry
I'd give
that
it
we
a
didn't
10
have
out of
that
10
in.
for Daniel Craig's blue eyes.
So now that gives me a score of 82 out of 110.
Yeah. 73 out of 110.
We did make a list on our Instagram of each of our most attractive male celebrities. Zach and David made a list, and then like our friends Caleb and Anna both made the individual list, and I made a list. I was the only one who had Daniel Craig on the list. I rated him number 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Who won
Is
that?
it just
Who won
because
that?
Daniel
did.
Craig never came
Me
to
and
mind
David?
for
Yeah.
everyone, for
David and
everyone else? Or
Yeah, maybe I was the only person who thought of him, but I actually think he's like pretty attractive. You know, like I think like somebody who can age well is like that's a good standard for a guy. Like you need somebody who's like sort of in their 30s, 40s, 50s who's like still.
That's
looks
why we
good.
put Idris Elba.
Yeah, I mean I get it, but like Tom Holland, see they put Tom Holland on their list.
We
and
put
I
Tom Holland
disagree
as
with
like
that
number 8
because
though.
he's just too young. Like I don't. Yeah.
We put him on
Yeah.
number 8.
Well, how old is Tom Cruise? He's getting up there, isn't he?
Yeah, but
He's
kind of
not-
he's
he's
kind
not
of
on my
weird.
list.
He's kind of weird looking.
Yeah.
Like if you actually think about it.
In fact, we don't want him on our
Yeah.
podcast.
No,
We'll
I
never
I-
have Tom
No,
Cruise.
we'll never have Tom Cruise
We
on.
hate-
Even
in
if
fact,
Tom
we
Cruise was
hate him.
begging us to be on our podcast, we wouldn't have him on.
In fact, we hate him really badly.
Yeah, he's a Scientologist.
I was
that's
joking
weird.
earlier about how most of your emails were just from people who disagree, but in reality, about a solid 50% of them are from exclusively Tom Cruise.
Yeah, they're like, why
Just
do you
wanting
why
to
do you
be on
not
the
want me on the
podcast.
podcast? I want to be on the podcast to be like, no, Tom Cruise.
I
mean,
won't talk about Scientology, I swear.
You would
Tom,
be-
stop asking. We said no.
We don't like that what you did to Katie Holmes, who was like the not. I don't even know what he did. I don't like to be honest. I think they were married and then they got divorced. Whatever.
All right.
All right.
Hey,
I don't know.
What a note to end our critiques on.
Well, the Brita moment
Unless
for
you-
me was definitely like it probably wasn't specific moments. It was probably okay. Maybe there was a specific moment. I don't like. I already mentioned this, but what's her name? Starts with a V. What's the girl's name?
Vesper.
Vesper. Her face. So, anytime that she would like say a line, and this is just me. I really don't know why, but I thought about this the whole movie. Like, just for some reason to me, she seemed like she was gonna like lecture me about something. Just
Yeah, she's just too smug. She's too full of herself.
Yeah.
Which makes sense why she would betray. Maybe that was a hint that she was
Yeah.
gonna do something bad.
So there was that. That
knew
was a
it.
Brita moment for me, and then another Brita moment, which was kind of not just a specific moment, but it was too long. So, yeah.
I'm assuming. By the way, I have no idea. Brita moment is like moments that you like dislike.
Yes.
Yeah,
I would
and
assume?
plot holes.
Okay. The finger sucking.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, that was actually really weird. Like the scene in the shower.
I don't know
They're
if it
in
was
the
bad,
shower.
It was just really uncomfortable.
They are clothed.
As a viewer.
They are clothed in a shower, which fine. I'm glad they had clothes on. You know, that's at least we got that going for us. But he starts sucking her fingers, and it's really weird. And it's almost, it's probably one of the weirder things that we've seen since Good Time, honestly. When he started making
Finger licking good.
when he started making out with that
girl.
one girl, yeah.
I'm gonna repeat the joke because I don't think anyone heard it. Finger licking good.
Yeah, apparently that's what Daniel Craig thought. You know. I mean, not Daniel Craig, James Bond. Sorry, just speaking to what Daniel Craig does in his personal life.
See, that's
dare
why
you.
I don't like this girl, because
He-
she's just...
That was weird though, because thinking back on it, it's like she always was like going to betray him, but somehow she was so shocked by like the death scene that like, I don't know, it's just weird. It seems inconsistent with her overall character.
So that's my Brita moment.
So maybe that flows
It-
into my Brita moment too, with her inconsistency.
And the
there.
thing is, I think it is a moment that could have been fixed without the finger licking.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it definitely could have been fixed.
Or they could
but
use
the
toes.
fact that
Someone was like, "We have to have this in the movie. This is gonna get some demographic." But I would be like, "I don't want that
Yeah.
demographic at my movie."
Yeah, we don't need those demographic in the... We don't need those people in the movie theaters, in fact,
Yeah.
yeah.
with other viewers that are healthy and come for the action.
Next,
The action and the
desensitized
poker that they
people.
don't understand.
Yeah.
Next we have stock market, which is at the time of this movie after it was released. What would you invest in? So this could be like the movie series in general, any of the actors in the movie, the production company, the director. Who would you invest in? I would say Daniel Craig. Obviously,
DC
that's
for
an
sure.
easy one.
Yeah.
Probably the overall series, to be honest. And that probably would have worked out.
Well, you see, we have the added benefit of context of knowing that only every other movie is good. So I would invest in the period just before every other movie came out.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have
know?
known that at the time that the movie is released.
That's
Looking
fair, that's
back on
fair.
it now.
At the time, I would have
Yeah.
invested in the franchise because I know it wouldn't be my favorite franchise necessarily, but I know that people would definitely go to see it. Like,
Yeah,
it made
if you're looking at this from a
$600 million. So
Yeah, from a monetary perspective, it's a no-brainer.
That's more money than Lashif was trying to get.
Yeah,
That's-
that's true.
That's a lot.
And
And like people were willing to kill him over it.
it's
and
like
s-
times 4 of that.
and
It's
s-
like 150
Yeah.
million
Yeah.
to 600. Yeah.
speaking of Lashif, I would invest in Mads Mikkelsen too, probably.
Yeah.
And
Mads Mikkelsen, Daniel Craig, and the series I think are my 3.
yeah, I agree
'Cause
with that.
Daniel Craig's got those blue eyes, so I gotta.
Like the
And then-
ocean. When he drove with
Yeah.
it by the ocean, I couldn't even notice the difference. His eyes, the ocean. His eyes, the ocean.
I thought it was a bad green screen effect, and his eyes were just green.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
just- someone didn't chroma key it quite right.
Okay, so now that we're coming to the end, the final round. Ding ding. I haven't done that in a
Ding.
while.
It's like the
Zach,
first
Zach is
podcast.
just Zach is just like half dead. Just
Yeah, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Dude,
Um.
finals week is rough.
Yeah, it
even though
is.
it's not even here.
It's not here yet, but I'm just dreading it. I know it's coming.
it's finals week eve.
Yeah.
Yeah, finals week eve.
Yeah.
Like the whole week is an eve of finals.
Mm-hmm.
But my conclusion of this movie is that if you want to watch a good a decent spy thriller that will keep you entertained and will make you want to play Texas Hold'em, then you should watch this movie. And you'll also learn some things about like how to trust people and how not to, what people you shouldn't trust, and how to annoy your boss.
My take on it is just like I said at the beginning. Pow pow.
Whoa.
That was pretty deep.
Or from Community.
I don't know if
pow,
I can
pow.
top that, dude. I don't
Yeah.
know if I can top
It's
that.
putting you in a tough position.
Pow pow pow.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, let's
Crowd
go.
goes crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Us on our listeners clapping.
yep.
Our live audience.
Hey, if you're
Let
a
me just
listener,
clap into the mic. Let me peek the audio real quick. Just
if you're a listener, send us audio of you clapping after you hear that.
That's weird. Yes, do it.
yeah. Oh, no. We can make this even more weird. Send video of just a single clap.
Yeah, and we'll post it on our story,
The loudest
But
clap
tag us.
wins. Yes.
and it'll just be like nobody will understand why you're posting it, but you just post it and you just clap, just one clap on your story, tag us in your Instagram, and we'll repost it. I promise. So
That's a Ben guarantee.
that's a bet. You can be whatever Zach
And
said.
if he doesn't live up to it, you can sue him.
Yes. We're giving
I hope
you.
not. I have very little money.
Someone's gonna use this against you one day. One day.
One day I will regret having this podcast.
This is a silent business contract that he doesn't know that he is agreeing to. If he is unable for any reason to not repost it,
You can sue.
you can sue him. You
Yeah.
can legally do that.
Here you go, Ben's enemies. There's a free one.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of enemies out there.
Ben makes
A
enemies.
lot of people just hate you, you know.
Like
It's
me.
very, yeah. I don't even know how wise Zach's on this podcast. We've had so many arguments about this thing.
Yeah. Or like, should we call it the movie vault or the movie podcast?
Yeah, because the movie vault's the 1 hour a week that we get along, and then the rest of it's just a full on.
Yeah, we wrestled this morning.
Yeah, just to almost to the death. You can't really see it.
No,
on
it
our
was
face.
to the death. He resuscitated me.
Yeah.
He beat me.
Well, I mean, you clearly got a good blow, and I'm seeing a black eye on Benji at the moment. So I mean,
Yeah.
clearly you got a good one in.
Yeah, even before he died, he did get a little bit of a
Yeah, I
strike
threw
on
the
me.
fire extinguisher at him.
Yeah, that kind of stunk. I
Yeah.
was like, Zach, why'd you do that?
I was like, I was trying to kill you, boy.
I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that because I have a concussion.
Yeah, and then I was like, hey, I had one.
That's
of
why
those
you
a while
thought the
back.
movie was so good.
Yeah, guys, I had a concussion.
That's why you
I
thought the
actually
message
didn't like
was
this
great.
movie. I was like, I was like so spaced out that I just didn't really understand what was happening. I was like, yeah, it was a good message.
Hey, there
Yeah,
was
6.
I will say there was some good asthma representation in
That's
this movie.
true. We forgot to mention that. Good asthma
I have
representation.
asthma. I have to use an inhaler. I use albuterol, and I loved seeing.
You know, I didn't actually know that you had asthma until this day.
Really?
No, I've never seen you use an inhaler or albuterol.
I knew
So.
Yeah.
I knew that you had asthma the very day I met you.
Yes, we met today.
So you could say that Jonathan and Zach are already closer friends.
Yes, we are. Have we wrestled to the death? No, we have not. Maybe
Well,
one
hold
day,
on. Let me
Jonathan.
pull up my schedule. I think I might be able to fit something in.
We'll wrestle through Zoom right now, or whatever we're on, Google Meets or whatever.
Google Meet, totally the better version of Zoom, because you can use it. You can use it
Off-brand Zoom. I call
without having 40 minutes that get cut off. So that's why I like it.
And Google only steals the data, so it's really not that big of a deal.
No,
so.
yeah, they could probably resell our podcast.
They'll
as
probably
a different
sue
thing.
you, man.
I said something bad about the Google. Oh no. All right.
Random. All right. Anywho.
I cut you off there. Sorry, but
No, it's fun.
No,
it's
don't
fine.
talk. Ben doesn't want you to talk. I'm joking.
I'm not sure that you are though.
this is not a joke. If you could see my face, you would get.
Part of
you
Part
get
of
the
this
thing.
is we can't see Jonathan because he doesn't have a camera, but he can see us. So it's like the
And they-
awkward moment when you're in a Zoom breakout room and you're the only one with your camera on.
Yeah.
Well, when also for all you guys know, my mic just broke or whatever. Like that could
Oh.
totally just be unintentional.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we can still hear you, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But you know, if something were to
Yeah, like that. I don't know. I think Jonathan went out, actually. So I don't know whether that was a joke or like a real thing. So I guess it's time to close the vault.
Oh, poor guy. Can't do it.
Yeah.
psych, my mic has a mute button.
Oh, he tricked
Psych,
us.
psych, I lie.
I was actually tricked for a second.
I'm a pathological liar. Haha.
I had a feeling that it was a trick, but I was also like, well, you did mention that your mic might break or something, and I was like, that's kind of weird that he was that.
Coincidence?
He had
I think not.
a prophetic statement.
I just thought he was messing with it and ripped the wire on accident.
Yeah. 'Cause
Oh
he's
no,
just-
dude, that would damage the USB port unnecessarily.
Yes. A, B, C, D.
He too clumsy with it. All right, do you want to close the vault, Jonathan? You can make any noise to symbolize closing the vault.
I have this here water bottle. I shall crush it. Ta-da! It's closed now.
007.
Horrible.